Hello everybody, welcome back to another edition of the EcoStruxure Machine Expert training. I'm your host, Leandro Humada, and in this video what we're going to talk about is the trace functionality that we have in the software. So let's go to the presentation. So the trace is one of the most used features, or at least for me, that we have in the software that allows us to track what's going on in our logic, or if we use a variable that is changed over time, we can use the trace, okay, just to analyze what's going on. So this model is all about debugging, so the trace is a good tool for debugging. So as I say over here, for debugging our code, for example, if you are trying to make a sequence, okay, of what you can do is to use these variables divided over time, and then you divide it in different axes, and then you can see the execution in all of them, okay, so you can validate that what you want to do is doing it. So that's one of the main things that you can do, and also compare analog values over the time. So how to start with this trace? Okay, so in order to add the trace, we should go to the tools tree view that we have in case you're using the latest or the newer environment, okay, or if you are using the PacDrive environment, the old version of the visualizations, then you just right click and then add the trace. So you have two possibilities. The first one, once you are in the application, you can see this icon. Okay, let me just use the pen over here. You can use this icon, okay, the plus, and then if you click over there, you should be able to see this small view, and this is a small view. You can use the trace, okay, simple as that. Or you can right click on this application that you have, add object, okay, and then if you scroll down just a little bit further, you just see this trace. You just click on it, okay. So let me just show you this in the software. So tools tree, I am using this application, I online, add object, here scroll and to the trace, and you see this trace. Here you can add a name whatever you want, no problem. So trace testing, okay, and then add, and this is the view that you have for the trace. Okay, now we're going to see how we can configure this, how to link it to a mask. Just wait for it. So this is how you can add it, okay. Then after changing this, the name, in case you want it, this is the view that you see, okay. In the top right corner you can see the configuration and add variable, okay. This is the axis of time, and this one is the axis for the value of the variable that you are going to use. Then if you click on the configuration, okay, that's something important. If you close, it's in the same topic, but if you close this, okay, in order to open it, okay, you can see here that if you are in application, you cannot see the trace, okay. If you are in device 3, you cannot see the trace. So the only way to see the trace as object, you just need to go to tools tree. And I already have a new one here, so I believe it's this one, trace testing, good. So here in the trace, when you double click the object, you can see the trace, okay, the environment for the graphic. So if we go to the configuration, in there you must link the execution of the trace with a task. That's why you have this indication over here, and then you need to link the task to one of the tasks that you have over there. So if we go here, configuration, okay, using the other window, there we go. So here you have this indication, no task, assign, okay. So if you have a task already defined, you should be able to see all of them. In my case, I only have one, so I'm going to link it to that one, okay. That's it. So this way you link the trace to a mask. So using a task, okay, in this case the mask, it will provide the data, okay, for the axis of time. So this part of the trigger I'm going to cover in the next presentation. Okay, so we can separate how we can configure the trace, different diagrams, and the variables to add here. Okay, so now I'm going to click OK, and we continue with the presentation. So once you added this the mask, or you link to the task this trace, you have the possibility to record. You have to start the record of the trace that you have. Okay, and you must use a Boolean variable as I show you here. So if you click over here to find a variable, okay, it will ask you to add a Boolean variable. Otherwise, you will see invalid type, the type of the variable that you have added, okay, showing this error. Okay, just is the connection to enable the trace. Okay, it's not enough to download. That's going to show you how to download. You need to enable this condition. Okay, this is just in case you want. Otherwise, as soon as you download, it will start with everything after you start the trace. Then the other important thing that we must configure is this, the advanced. The advanced will pop up this message over here. Let me just hide myself. Yep. So here you can specify the amount of samples that you can see on the trace. Okay. So if I'm not wrong, if you change this value, it will automatically change this one. Vice versa. Let me just check. So configuration advanced is in the other window. Okay. Size. Here it will tell you how much is information, 9 seconds. But if you change this one, it will change this one over here. So if I want, I don't know, 1000, it will tell you the amount of information or the period of time that it will record. Okay, so if you want more values, 1000, okay, it will trace 1 minute and 32 seconds. Okay, this is just to have an idea how much it can record. Okay, and also you can change here the cycles. Okay, so this is just to have an idea based on the amount of samples, how much time it can store for you to analyze. Okay, so if we go back to here, this one is not override. You will see the indication next to it. Okay, oh, how much time is this amount of samples based on this cycle also. So now we start with the fun. So in the trend, this trace, we have the possibility to add diagrams. By default, we only have one diagram, okay? And all the diagrams are linked to the time axis. So it's important to configure this time axis. So if you go to the, let me just show you over here. So if you open the configuration and select time axis, you can see here some initial configuration of the visualization of the time axis. So the font allows you to change this part on the bottom. Okay, simple as that. And if you click preview, you can change, so you can see how it's going to be the pre-visualization of everything. So that's simple. Then we have by default, we already have one diagram, but for example, if you have more variables and you don't want to see everything in the same diagram, you can separate it, okay, and have an additional diagram with their own variable, okay, and compare what you want in the different ways. Okay, so diagram 1, okay, if you click on the diagram, you can play with the visualization of the colors. Okay, you have the back color and back color unselected. So if you are selecting this diagram, you can see this color over here. If it's not selected, you want to see in white. Okay, so for example, let me just open this, right click, add diagram. Here I'm going to use okay, configuration. I should add a variable over here. Well, right click, add variable, add variable. Okay, so here you can see that on the selection I use that color, okay, that I have over here. So if I, for example, let's change this one. If I change this to when it's selected yellow and when it's not selected this one, okay, you can see how it changed. So you can change the visualization, how you want to see the trace. Okay, simple as that. So now to add diagram, I already showed you, right click on the diagram that you have and then add diagram. It will add another one, so you can use another variable. Then when you have this diagram already added over here, you can configure the value of the variable axis, okay, which will be the y. So here, if you click the y axis, okay, you can change how you're going to visualize the variable. You can use auto or fix. If you use auto, it will automatically adjust the scale, okay, between a range. But if you know the values that the variable is going to take, I recommend you to use the fix, okay, so you can fix this part of the axis. Then the other thing that you can do is to add a description, okay, that the description will be shown in the top part of your screen, okay, so that would be great. And if you want, you can change the visualization by using the font, okay, simple as that. So if we go to it's taking time, but it's gonna be good. So if you're using the axis 2, okay, fix from this value to this one, you can see it's -20 to 12, okay. And if I use, for example, description hello world, okay, you can see hello world over there. And if I now change, for example, axis, the font, bold, this one, okay, you can see how it changed the font of the y-axis, okay, for the variable. Okay, simple as that. So far, we're just trying to make the configuration to look fancy and easy for us to understand what's going on. This part's covered. Now it's time to add the variables. So as I quickly showed you before, you just right click on the shown variables, so you can add this new variable. So let me just show you. So configuration again. Configuration again. Okay, so we have shown variables. Okay, I'm going to delete this variable, and also I'm going to leave it, no worries. So shown variable, right click, you have an existing variable in case we already have added one. Add new variable, you should be able to see this. Okay, there is no variable to trace, and here you have the possibility to add one from our system. So I will use this, and the variable is added. Okay, and you have the possibility also to define a minimum and maximum value in case it reach one of those. Okay, so if it reach, for example, 20, or if it reach 80, the other way around, 20, 80, you can visualize the trace in a different color, okay, different to the one that is already added, which is this one. Okay, so that's it. Let me see if I forget about something. Well, this is what I wanted to show you. So just change height. So if we don't use this part, okay, for the minimum and maximum value, you should see this color, okay, like this. As this variable I have assigned the minimum and maximum, you can see that between this value and this value, the minimum that it has this color 25. Okay, and as soon as it reaches the 25, it goes to the normal one, and as soon as it reaches the value over here, I believe is 75, okay, it changed to red, okay, until it changed the value. Okay, so this is one way to do it in case you want additional information on the trace. Okay, then okay, this is another way. So far I explained you how to configure the trace, okay, how to make it look as you want, and then how to add a variable. But there is another way to add a variable. You just go into the code that you have, right click into the variable, and then you have this option, add variable to the trace. And if you have more than one trace, okay, you can select, or you can create a new trace for your controller. Okay, so what I want you to do is to work on this application. Okay, so let me just try to change this. So I have this SR main, okay, with these 4 variables, and the idea is to create this logic. And let me just check if I had it. So basically I'm going to create a square signal, okay, using the blink functionality, okay, every 200 milliseconds, and then this variable is going to increase. Okay, it's going to increase, and as soon as it reaches the value 100, okay, 100, it will go to 0. Okay, I will start again, and I have another variable number 2, okay, to number 1, okay, that it will increment 1 time each time this one rises, okay, until it reach like this, until 5. Okay, it reached 5, and it will go to 0 again. Okay, so that's the idea. So to avoid wasting your time trying to create this, let me see if I already have this already created. SR main, so let me just delete this bar. Application, system, test, trace. Yes, I got it. So trace must is calling, so it's going to use this, and this one is for the trigger, so I'm going to delete this bar because the trigger, I'm going to show you that later. Okay, so I have this. I'm going to download this to the controller. Login, yes. Now I'm going to show you what I have. I think it's this one. Blink trigger configuration. So in this case, it has the trigger, but I don't want to show you that now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to delete the trigger information and the diagram here. So I have these two. Okay, so I believe I have the colors. Okay, already configured. So the diagram1 is already with different colors with different fonts. Here the variable it has the minimum and maximum, okay, already defined. So it's good to go. And okay, so for this part is all right. Okay, we have already configured everything. I already pre-configured that, and I have created this logic. So it increment the variable, and as soon as it reach, it increment another one, just one, until it reach another value, and then go on and go on and go on. So until the second value reached the 5, and then it's restarted. So now we need to download this trace or see the data. So for that, all we need to do is to right click any area that we have and then press download trace. Once you make the download trace, it will allow you to start the trace using this button over here, the start or the stop, okay, if you want to stop it. Then you have the cursors that allow you to easily see the information you have, and depending on the amount of cursors that you put, you will see different information, okay, that I'm going to show you. So this is the log and trace, but let's go for the cursor first and then we go to the other one, okay, for saving. So this is the trace already configured based on what I told you before. Download trace, you can see here with the scroll wheel you can adjust the time axis, okay, and with if you click on the axis or diagram, you have this icon over there, okay, so you can scroll over the time axis. Then if you right click, okay, you see this cursor. So in the cursor, you just click on it, you can see this one. So if you move this and the cursor, you should be able to see here and the actual value in that exact time, okay. That's good. So the other thing that you can do here is to use another cursor so you can see the difference between these two parts, okay, this value to this value, and if you just stop it and then you can analyze what's going on, okay. So for example, from this point to this point I have a difference of 46, here is 0, but if I go over here I have this difference, okay. And you also in the bottom part, okay, let me just move myself a little bit higher, you can see the difference of time, okay, it's almost 9 seconds from here to here, okay, from here to here you have almost 9-10 seconds, okay. So this is good to analyze the behavior of your code, okay. If you are tracking, for example, some kind of sequence that you want to see the behavior, this is what you can do, okay. So this is the cursor. Then if you press the cursor again the third time, it will delete all of that, okay. So this is what I want, or this is what I meant by this this behavior one. So one cursor, another one, you just have two cursors, and if you do it again, no cursors at all, okay. Then you have the possibility to load and save the trace. So if you right click over here and save the trace, okay, it will generate this trace, okay, this trace file. And in order to see this information, probably recommend you to use the same software so you can open it over there, okay. So what we have done so far is download the trace, stop command, start command, also the cursor, save and load. This is easy, doesn't make any point. Check the statistic command in the trace. Let me see, I totally missed that. So here, if you right click over here, you see the statistics and you have this information, okay. So you can see the average, RMS, the delta, standard deviation, integral, you have this information. So I think it's good, depending on the information that you want to show, you have it, okay. I think it's good to have that, the statistics. So let's see one thing here. So right click, you have save the trace, okay. Here you have this one, save it over here, okay, press it, yes. So if I start trace and then stop, and then I can load trace, I have it over here. I think I load another one, but you get the point. So it will generate the file .trace. You can save it and then you can open it again on the software just to make some additional comparisons. Okay, using the cursor, 1 or 2 cursors. Okay, and you can see a delta here or here, the difference, and also the time between the two different cursors. So this is it for the trace. Okay, we're going to see later how we can use the trace with the trigger. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I see you on the next one.